Hey guys, it's your girl Alexi, and this is Red Carpet Fly Go-Getta Podcast, where we interview up-and-coming talent here in the entertainment industry here in Hollywood. Today I'm interviewing director Basilio Odukoya, who has a new movie out called Induced Effect that's on Amazon. How are you doing today?
I'm awesome. I'm feeling great and happy to be here.
Yeah. You know, I just want to give you a congratulations because I know that this was your first movie, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the first film. I executive produced this one.
Okay. I'm sorry, executive produced.
No, you're fine. I am a director. I'm a director and a writer, so it makes sense. I just didn't want people to get confused. I didn't direct this one, unfortunately.
Well, I saw it and I thought it was great. So I'm going to just go ahead and jump right in. I thought the movie was interesting that you guys focused on the opioid epidemic. You know, was that a real conscious choice? You guys wanted to make like a social stance?
Partly.
Okay.
It's something that affects a lot of people, that affected a lot of people around us, particularly the writers I know. One of them in particular, Niles Abston, he's a very close creative partner of mine. He's my only creative partner, actually, when it comes to film. So I know he's had some people from his hometown in Mississippi affected by that, so it played right into the film. Yeah,
I thought it was really timely because we are having an opioid epidemic, so having a movie that kind of like focuses on that, I thought that was really, poignant. Also, what like struck me is that the main family or the main characters, they're Afro-Latino.
Yeah, they are.
I thought I was so digging that because, there's been a lot of conversation over the non-representation of seeing Afro-Latinos, So was that a conscious choice to do that?
It was. Latinos, period, they don't get that much representation. There's an underrepresentation period.
Absolutely.
But Afro-Latinos in particular, especially with the things they go through back at home, so we made a conscious choice to have that in the film.
Yeah, no, I thought that was so dope that you had that because like I just wasn't expecting it. So it was such a welcome surprise. It was a curve. So I really appreciate it and thought it was really, really, really thoughtful that you guys did that. Also, how hard is it to put together a movie?
In theory, it's very simple.
Okay.
Because all the pieces you need. The execution of getting all those pieces in place, depending on who you are, is the hard part.
Okay.
Because people have conflicting schedules, people have conflicting interests, life happens.
Right.
And just when you think you have every I dotted, every T crossed, you get sideswiped by something that you might not have even been expecting. And then you're just like, okay, I'm thrown off. How do we get back to balance so we can move forward?
Now, how long did it take to get from like start to finish for Induced Effect?
The filming of it, I believe we filmed it in 14 days.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. And for something like this, because it is on Amazon, was it hard to get that distribution?
It was a process.
Okay.
Just getting all the distribution material. It's an independent film, so you have to pay for finishing the film, shooting the film, finishing the film, so you can get it to distributors. Then upon getting it to distributors, you have to pay for all the distribution materials yourself primarily, unless you strike a deal with the distributor and you go into different types of negotiations. But so that process was a long process just to get all of those things done. Our first trailer wasn't PG. There was swearing in it. Not knowing, we had first timers having to go back creating a PG trailer. So having all those things in place and making sure everything was right to get that going, that was a process.
Wow, I didn't even think about that, so I could definitely see how you guys wouldn't have thought about that. Funding for the film, is that hard as well to get funding? Because I hear all kinds of crazy stories about how people try to get investors and how sometimes it's not totally legit. I mean, how was the process of trying to get your film funded?
This one wasn't crazy. Myself and another investor funded the film.
Okay.
So it was pretty smooth from that angle. And I think we had one more investor come on towards the end, just for post-production purposes.
Now, I know that, you have really good actors in here, and I know that you were working with, what's his name? I believe it's Isaiah.
Isaiah, yeah.
Yeah, from Shameless. Yeah. Do you only work with SAG actors?
Do not only work with SAG actors. Everyone in the film is not a SAG actor. Okay. I don't really even care about the whole SAG thing.
Okay.
Personally.
Mm-hmm.
But, industry-wise, yes. I know just to meet certain requirements, you do have to have SAG actors and so on and so forth. But talent is everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that a lot of the bigger studios and a lot of the bigger productions just shut out because they're like, oh, you're not SAG, so I'm not going to work with you, or you can't get in this door. But my thought is, I think of film like the movie business, like the music business, and I see myself more as a cultivator of talent. Mm-hmm. And if you are really in tune with not the industry, but the subcultures of the industry, you'll know where to find the talent, and you'll find those quote unquote diamonds in the rough. And they're really only considered diamonds in the rough because they're not with the other diamonds. They might be in places where SAG actors shouldn't be, quote unquote, right. Or they're SAG after a talent but just don't have the credentials behind them.
Exactly. Now, I'm glad you brought that up about finding, these diamonds in the rough. What is your method about picking an actor and actress to star in your movie or to be in your movie? What is that process like, and what strikes you and makes you say yes?
For myself, energy.
Okay.
Are they believable?
Mm-hmm.
Do I believe we can work together?
Okay.
Does their talent trump everything in terms of, can we work together? Can we not? Mm-hmm. Do they have a great personality? Do I believe they're going to work hard and come on time? Because those things are important for me. Mm-hmm. Before film, and I was in a corporate background, so all those kind of things, punctuality and all that's important to mm-hmm. me. Being easy to work with, important to me. So I know a lot of people will choose to work with someone who's highly talented mm-hmm. and deal with their idiosyncrasies of difficulty. Yeah. I won't do that. Mm-hmm. I prefer to work with easy people who are really hardworking and who are flexible and, more than anything, believable and talented.
Mm-hmm. Now, I was going to ask you about your background because I know that you did some DJing, and you also did some IT consulting. How did you end up in film?
I took my first writing class a couple years out of uni. Mm-hmm. I'd always wanted to be in film. I remember a scout came to my university and saw me, and she's like, yo, you'd be really great for some films. Mm-hmm. I'm some kid living in Illinois. I loved film, but I never thought, to be in film. Mm-hmm. And then I filled out this application, I had it in my room, and then my mom saw it, and she's like, what? You want to do film? I sent you to college to do chemistry and be a doctor. You're filling out film applications. So that deaded that for a minute. Mm-hmm. But it was just always in my heart, watching, Jurassic Park growing up, mm-hmm. watching Eddie Murphy do his thing in Coming to America, Beverly Hills Cop, and all those films. It was always just in my heart. So I finally just had the secret courage, being from a strict Nigerian family. Yeah. I wasn't allowed to just be myself and mm-hmm. do what I wanted to and follow the arts and not go to college right. I really wanted to. So I just had to do everything underground. So I took a writing class, learned how to write screenplays. I would write. And then finally I moved to LA a couple of years later, and made my first film.
Now, how's that move been? Because you're coming from the Midwest and you're coming out to the West Coast. How has that adjustment been for you?
The adjustment's been pretty dope. There are a lot of really great people out here. Mm-hmm. And there's a plethora of opportunities if you can get to them. Mm-hmm. And there are myriad of reasons why people do and don't get to them. Mm-hmm. But the weather's amazing. Really great people are out here. You can definitely find a home base out here. And more than anything, just opportunities to work, progress, and learn.
Yeah, yeah. Now, what are your what kind of movies are you drawn to? Personally, and then movies that you like to make.
Personally, anything with Bradley Cooper, he's dope.
Okay.
He's super dope. Leonardo DiCaprio, another amazing guy. Anything Barry Jenkins does is really cool. But more so overall, just movies that I find interesting. I go see a lot of films. Okay. But I am known as the guy who will walk out on a film.
Really?
Yeah. If I don't like a film, I will walk out. If I'm not feeling it, I will walk out.
Now, what are grounds for walking out of a movie?
If my head is too into the construct of the movie. Okay. You know, if I know a good film when I stop dissecting a film. Okay. Because I always go into every film skeptical. Like, I want to see what they did, how they did what they did, why they made the decisions that they made. And, you know, from a writer-director perspective, my initial thought is break it down. You know, why do they choose those lines? Why do they shoot from that angle? Oh, that's an interesting angle. Oh, that's an interesting color scheme. Oh, the sound design right there when that door closed or when the phone dropped and then they said what they said. That's really amazing. But the minute a film takes me out of that and pulls me into the story and my mind is not dissecting anymore, but I'm just an observer, then I know I've seen an awesome film.
Now, what movie have you seen recently that has done that for you?
Us did that.
Yeah.
Us did that because I was very ready to, come in and break that down.
Yeah, no, it's so funny because I consider myself a cinephile, and I watch a lot of movies as well. And I was pleasantly surprised by Us. I was going in there with some expectations, and it flipped it on its head. And I like movies that I can go back and analyze and be like, oh, well, no. Let's look at it this way. Let's look at it this way. So that's what Us did. So I really like that. How do you like Jordan Peele as a director?
As a director, he's cool. He's done exceptional for himself. So I can't say anything. Negative about him. I will say that one of the last sequences in Us, that fighting sequence with Lupita versus Lupita, that was masterful. I thought about that for at least 3 days straight. Like how he would have written it, how they shot it, the different angles, like what inspired him to write it and to write it that way. Because anyone can write a dance sequence, but choosing that location, choosing the costume. Maybe he probably didn't do that. Maybe the costume designer did that. Maybe he had input. I don't know. But just the whole ballerina dance fight sequence, the way it went down. How don't want to give a spoiler alert if anyone hasn't seen it.
They better have seen it.
I know, right? I mean, it grossed like $70+ million in the first week. I hope you did. And then finally, what happened at the end with those two characters in particular, with one of them dying. I mean, just all of that and the twist, and even just the nuance that was given from one of the characters' eyes at the end. I was just like, wow, very interesting.
And we can go into this all day because, like, I did a review on Us, and I watched hundreds and hundreds of other reviews on Us. And one thing that I really noted, I really like characters and how directors pick characters and actors. And in Us, they were really, he chose really dark Black people to play these roles, which I thought was brilliant because I always love seeing Black people in, starring roles, but also because it played on that duality of like shadows, and I thought that was super dope because, if you would have had like maybe like a more caramely kind of brown person or Black person, I don't think it would have translated as well. So, I mean, we could go in this all day, right?
All day long.
But, talking about that, what is the hardest thing about directing for you?
For me thus far, I don't see anything hard about directing for me. Like, I actually love directing. I'm pumped when I'm directing, because I understand, like, at the point where I arrive on set, I'm the leader, I'm the CEO, I'm the quarterback, I'm the one everyone is looking to for direction and also energy. So it's just important for me to, like, be positive, keep my spirits high, and then be locked in and focused and be timely. Right. So I would say maybe the toughest thing is being on time. Just making sure everything's moving, getting the shots you need on time so you don't run too far behind schedule if you are behind schedule, and then knowing when to make decisions to cut, move on to the next scene, potentially move scenes around, cut a scene if you need to, and just making those impactful choices to respect everyone's time, but still maintain the integrity of the film that you wanted to make going into, so you have what you need going into the editing process. And then also being able to adjust to the things that just happen on set, the goals you're given, the coal you're given, depending on what you get, and being able to work with, that energy and being able to motivate whoever you need to motivate.
No, that's what I was going to say. If I was a director, which I'm not, but if I was, I would think that dealing with talent sometimes can be difficult, especially when they're not quite seeing the vision as you're seeing the vision, and also just dealing with the editing. I hate editing so much. And do you sit down with the editors and go through, like, scene by scene?
I do.
Oh, wow.
I sit there.
Oh, my gosh. For hours on hours on end. Oh, my gosh. And that doesn't, I mean, do you lose yourself in that, or that doesn't bother you at all?
No, it doesn't bother me, because at the end of the day, if the film is good, the director gets all the credit. If the film sucks, the director gets all the credit. So someone like a Robert Redford, he was infamous for, putting the film in the can and then telling the director, hey, telling the editor, hey, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Let me know. I'm excited to see what you come up with. And he'll go off and live his life. Whereas, I'm like, that's cool. I would never do that, just because, like, I had a specific vision going in. Right. Granted, I don't have a monopoly. No one has a monopoly on all good decisions. So I'm always willing to let an editor be an editor and be an artist as well, because that's what they are. Right. But at least the initial framework of the film, I want to, like, be part of that.
Now, I know that in 2017 you directed and co-wrote Invite Only. Talk about that a little bit. What is that movie about?
So that film is a psychological thriller. Okay. Yeah, it's about a fraternity that gets kicked off campus right before their big Halloween party because of old hazing allegations that come back to life. So in the process of the head seniors, finding a new place to throw the party, they're haunted by someone from the past who is upset that they got away with the hazing allegations in the first place. And then we're thrust into the POV of the main senior. His name's Grayson Pratt. And he's just as he's moving forward, being haunted, finding a place to throw this party, and then also living through the post-traumatic stress of the recounts of the hazing allegations that got them kicked off campus. So it's a real, like, expect the unexpected film. What you see isn't what is actually going on. And then we're also telling a very poignant story about society and how certain people do certain things and why they make certain decisions, which really comes together, sewn up at the end with, like, the very last shot.
Now, where can we see this movie if we want to see it?
It's not out yet. It's still in post-production.
Okay. And are you going to do, like, a whole distribution thing again with Amazon or maybe Netflix where we can see it?
There are a couple of different people who are distribution companies and sales agents who are interested in it right now. So what platforms they'll finally end up on, I mean, we'll see. But yeah, definitely it'll definitely be out there for people to see one way or the other. Now,
can you tell us a little bit about the importance of storytelling? I think that in a lot of things, people are very quick to kind of get movies out, just talk about the importance of storytelling and how you try to be mindful of that.
Storytelling in what way?
Storytelling as far as making movies. So, it's, to me, what I'm getting is that you're very passionate about what you do. You usually have a certain point that you want to get across to the viewers. And I think a lot of that has to deal with, well, how good of a storyteller are you? So how, in your movie making process, how much of the storytelling process, like how do you go about that, and how important is that to you in trying to convey a certain message?
Conveying a message, it depends on the film. Like Invite Only, that conveys a message, because that film is actually loosely based on a true story of a young black male who was rushing for a predominantly white fraternity and was overly hazed, I guess you would say, and then he ended up dying in the process of that hazing. So we loosely tell that story, take a lot of artistic freedoms. It's really the only things we actually take from the story are African American kid or black kid gets hazed, rushing for a predominantly white fraternity, dies, and that's all we've taken from that. And then everything else is just our own creation. But the storytelling process, it just really it depends on the film. Because for me, story is one thing, but entertainment value is another.
Okay.
To me, those go hand in hand.
Because I was going to ask, does entertainment trump storytelling, or does the storytelling, how's the priority in that?
No, they go hand in hand for me, because I don't care how entertaining your film is. If the story is weak, I'm not going to like it. That's just me. So storytelling actually is important to me, just because it, more than giving people all this content, you want to give them substance to walk away with as well, and let them have a degree of satisfaction, and also something that they can play around with in their brain after they leave the film, because that's really important. Because that's how people remember things. That's what, to me at least, makes films great. Like, if I go see your film and then, a couple minutes later I never think about it again, I don't even remember if it was good or bad, because I don't remember it. But if I remember your film and I remember certain things about your film that were good to me, that for me can be the difference between a good film and a great film.
Okay. I definitely agree with you, because I love to, like I said, analyze and kind of pick apart movies and kind of think about, well, what if it was this way? Or, what were they trying to say when they did this and said those words? What are they trying to get across to us? Yeah,
because you don't ever want someone to be like, man, I wish they would have done X, Y, and Z instead. That would have made the film so much better, so much story. Because people want content, people want substance at the end of the day. We do live in a very fast society, but at the end of the day, everyone wants to feel satisfaction, especially when you're spending your time or your money or both to consume something, particularly a film that's at least 60 minutes of your life that you won't get back.
Right.
So you want satisfaction to know, hey, I made a good decision. I feel good about the time I spent with this film.
Now, what's the overall goal? I ask everybody who comes and interviews with me, what is the overall trajectory of your career? Where do you see yourself, and what are you what's the ultimate goal?
The ultimate goal for me when it comes to film, I want to be known as a movie mogul, a movie and TV mogul. It was 2 nights ago, I was actually looking up, top film moguls, and they're all older white men. Number one was the person who really pushed me into film, George Lucas. I was like, so for me, it's one to break that top 10 in terms of gross. And then 2, create a franchise that can be in the same conversation as Star Wars.
Now, it's so funny that you said that. I feel like we're linked right now. It's funny that you said that, because right now everyone has Game of Thrones fever. You can't go anywhere without anyone talking about Game of Thrones fever.
I've seen 1 episode my whole life.
Really? I was going to ask you, because it's fantasy. Everyone's in this fantasy kind of kick. Do you see yourself creating a fantasy kind of film?
I do. I do see myself doing fantasy. I actually am working through a treatment right now for a fantasy film.
Okay.
Partly fantasy, partly reality. I like things that are more realistic, I will say that, or that can really happen. I mean, I'm trying to win Oscars, and a lot of fantasy films, like, they just don't win Best Picture, Best Screenplay, Best Director. Like, that's what I'm trying to do. I know a lot of people say, don't do it for the awards or anything of that nature, but I like winning things.
Right.
It's important.
Right, exactly.
To some people. To me, it's important. Because that's what I strive to do, especially particularly being that film is not an objective industry where it's just like, hey, you do this. It's not like sports where it's like, oh, you score these many points, or you can potentially be MVP, or business, you gross this many numbers in this industry. You can be the number one company in this industry. You will make the Forbes, you'll be number one on the Forbes 500. Film is very subjective. And the emotions and opinions of the demographic of the people that need to be swayed to win these type of awards, to me, that's the competition right there. To say, hey, I'm not just going to make a film. Like right now, I can just make films. I'm young in my career. I've on my second independent film. I'm quote unquote what they would consider working to break into the industry.
Correct.
But even with that, and the things that I'm creating going forward, there's a thought process behind that, because I see what other people are doing. I see how certain films are swaying those type of opinions, and being in the time of life that I'm in, and possibly till maybe I'm in my 50s, those, depending on how things change with the academy and things of that nature, and voting changes, the type of opinions, the type of emotions that will need to be swayed are still probably going to be the same.
Right.
Exactly. So those are the kind of things that I'm looking at going forward. I was just trying to do, because to me, that's a competition right there. Because I'm like, oh, you do that, I can do that. And guess what? I don't look like you. Right. I don't have your same background. I come from here, and this is what I was able to do. And I'm still able to do these kind of films too. How do you like them apples?
Now, oh my goodness, I have so many questions for you. First of all, so some of our listeners can, I know they want to know, and I know a lot of acting friends, how does someone get in one of your films?
I'm not casting right now, but for me, I really just, if I know an actor, if I'm casting and I know an actor, I reach out to them. Like my first film, I had 2 friends in that film. A lot of people in the first film, induced the fact those were people that were known, and then we just held auditions. We, posted on the regular channels. For invite only, a lot of those people were personal friends or people that I respected their acting and I had a relationship with, I could just talk to. But the main characters, actually, those were all people from IMDb.
Okay.
Yeah, we just posted the roles on IMDb, and then we auditioned from there. So they sent in a tape, and that's how it went.
Okay. Now, like I said, I'm so excited to talk to you. I just wanted to know, I know there's something called the Blacklist. What are your thoughts about the Blacklist? And do you ever try to get one of your scripts in the Blacklist?
I don't know what kind of movies they like. So, I mean, I've read a script from the Blacklist that was like highly regarded. I thought it was a snoozer. I read another one. I didn't really care for it. I have put a script on the Blacklist, and full candor, the script got a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
Got a 9 out of 10 on dialogue. They're like, oh, the dialogue's near perfect, but just what I was trying to do didn't hit them in the film structure and the structural way that they looked at it. So that's kind of the tough part, just because, I mean, I've heard of films that have gotten 8 out of 10s, 9 out of 10s that will probably never get made because the premise is not that elaborate, not that extensive, but you know, they checked all the boxes that they needed to check, and that's cool. But film isn't really like that to me overall. You know, there's the Blacklist, from my experience thus far with it, I just feel like it's very robotic.
Really?
In regards to how they measure their criteria and how they rank certain things. It's interesting. But then again, too, it's, you know, different people reading scripts and then giving them scores in different areas. So it depends. It's a cool thing, though. I mean, they come back, they give you a full report of your film, what's good, what's bad, or of the script, I should say, what's good, what's bad. And, you know, you can choose to leave it as is, take some of their thoughts and work on the film, or, you know, not. And just change it yourself or do whatever you want to do with it. But it's a nice tool. I will say that. It's a very nice tool, particularly to know how your writing measures up against industry standards.
Okay. Yeah, I actually follow the guy on Instagram who created the Blacklist. Okay. And in my mind, and it could be wrong, I always just think that the Blacklist is like some kind of like disruptive kind of, I guess, machine where people who are like indie filmmakers, you know, it's just like this big pile of scripts that is, I'm sure there's like a gold nugget in there somewhere, and just, you know, directors kind of go through that. And I just, like I said, I always think that, you know, it's just interesting. And like I said, I follow the guy who created the Blacklist. So anyways, like I said, I could go on and on and on.
No, I mean, I'm about to put another script on the Blacklist in the next like 3 weeks. So, because I'm really interested in getting it like an 8 out of 10 or above.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm going for a 9 out of 10. You know, I'll leave room for error, but just because I know the 8, 9, and 10 are so coveted on the Blacklist, because if you get one of those scores, you're guaranteed to have your script read by a production company. So
yeah,
and it's also like a feather in your cap. Like, oh, you can say, hey, you want to read the script? It got an 8 or 9 out of 10 on the Blacklist. Well,
yeah, I mean, it definitely opens up doors. So, I don't know if Moonlight was like on the Blacklist, but I do know Little Miss Sunshine, I think that was a script that was in the Blacklist, and, you know, it got picked up and it did very well. So, you know, there are like these little darlings that come from the Blacklist. So
definitely, definitely are. And I think you can strike out my initial comments, because I think I was just in my feelings about not getting a perfect score, because I was shocked. I was like, wait, what? You gave me a what? You know, I was shocked. So you can strike those out from the... No,
it's good. You know, the thing is, I want people to be real, you know, because this is what it is. You know, we're all in the industry, you know, different facets of the industry, and we're all trying to make it. So it's good to have these perspectives on it, you know. Well, we're not interviewing me, but making it, it's right. It's, you know, making it is very subjective, you know. Making it for me is just breaking even on being able to pay rent with doing your craft. So being able to pay all your bills and to like live, to me, off of your craft, that is success. So, you know, you would love to be up in the lights and, you know, be the A-list, you know, actor or actress or whatever, and, you know, book tons of interviews and go on your little press tour, you know, right, busy and booked. But I really think it's just successful when you can live off of your craft, and that's just what you do, because then you're living what you do, you know. So that's success for me. Really quickly, I know you talked a little bit about your background. How much of that goes into your process of making films?
My background in regards to like...
As far as being your Nigerian background, you know, I know that your story is very, very, I I've heard it many, many times before from a lot of Nigerian actors and people that are in the entertainment or arts, that they didn't have that ability to kind of explore that at first because their parents are like, no, doctor, lawyer, engineer, like none of this creative stuff. They want to make sure that you can ensure a living for yourself. So how much does that go into what you're doing and then and your process about making movies?
Regarding my process, it has no effect now. Mm-hmm. It has no effect now. Mm-hmm. I mean, my mom's come around and she asks me about my movies now just because she's able to see, I'm able to sustain my life doing the things that I do. And so she's just like, oh, her son is doing this and he's doing this, things that she never did at her age. So she's just like, she's a fan now more than anything and a cheerleader. But with the part that it does affect, like now I'm more invigorated to create something that can be shot in Nigeria. Okay. Like I'm working on a pilot now for a limited TV series, so that can be shot in Nigeria. Like I want to go back home and I want to shoot something. I want to be able to employ people and bring money and bring a different eye and perspective directly from a Nigerian point of view, and more so than a Nigerian point of view, a Nigerian who doesn't pander to the preconceived notions of Nigerians held by other people. Okay. Because there have been other projects that have been funded and come from Nigerians who live here in America and have gone back home and shot, and all they did was pander and placate, and I don't like that. If I'm going to do something, I want to uplift my people. Okay. I want to shed a light on my people, and if more than anything, I want to create pieces that, more than entertainment value, will have people thinking, hey, I need to go there, or there's opportunity there, right. Or have the people there thinking, hey, how can we make our situations better? Because this project, even though it was a film or a TV show, whatever it was, it just really showed us and made us think to ourselves, the conditions we're living in or what we're allowing from our government or corporations, whoever, you name it, we need to have a change for ourselves as a people to progress in a great direction. Because, I believe by the year 2030 or 2050, there'll be 400 million Nigerians around the world. Oh, wow. And more than oil, our people are our biggest currencies. And right now, for all the wealth Nigeria has, all the amazing people, Nigerians that are around the world doing amazing things, Nigeria itself can be so much further ahead than where it is. Granted, it's only a 60-year-old country, but, things happen. But at the same time, there's a lot of things that could be changed and done better. And I would like to be part of that change, in a positive way, and influence that change, even if it's just from a thought perspective. Even if I can ignite thought in someone's mind or in someone's heart or in a group of people's minds or a group of people's hearts to get together to do something about it, to make a positive change for the nation overall. Like, those are the kind of things that I want to do.
Well, that's what's up. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Before I close out, where can people follow you and let them know where they can see Induced Effect again?
So you can see Induced Effect. It's streaming on Amazon. That's there for you. And the link is also in my Instagram bio at Baziltov, BAZIL_TOV.
Okay. And I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it up for today. Make sure you follow Basilio on all his social media platforms. And if you're an actor, actress, singer, dancer, rapper, model, stunt person, whatever, scriptwriter, please, and you want to come on the show, hit me up. Shoot me an email at Alexi@redcarpetfly, and that's ALEKSI@redcarpetfly.com, or hit me up on Instagram at redcarpetfly. And until next time, always stay fly.